Hello everyone, this is Robin the Delta Crafter and I want to thank you for joining me for a new video on my YouTube channel. Today I have a Scandinavian Christmas shaker card that I'll be making for you using the My Monthly Hero October 2020 kit from Hero Arts. This kit has a Scandinavian feel to it, and you can tell by all the little images that are on that you see on the screen there. There are several sentiments that are included in the set that can be used on both the inside and outside of the cards. This is a really cute set. It has lots of great images, and I'm excited to get into it. I love the little Santa and the reindeer that could be used to create a silhouette of Santa in the sky. As always, the dies are included in the set as well, which makes it a really great value for the price that you paid for. So I'm going to be using the large ornament that is included in the set and a couple of the sentiments that are in the set as well. Let's get started. So what I did for this card, because it is Scandinavian, I went onto Pinterest and searched for Scandinavian Christmas color palette. And on the screen, you can see the one that I chose. And I found papers that were in my stash that matched those colors. I took those papers and I made several different sizes of strips. I think I have a 1/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and then a 3/4 inch width of strips. And I made those strips in each of the 5 different colors that are in this color palette. So you can see there the different sizes of the strips. And now that I've sorted them all back out, you can see in this picture the the colors of all the 5 strips, and as well as the different sizes. So I'm going to be using these strips to create the background for my card. So I'm going to take the strips and I'm going to lay them down on the card in a couple of different directions. So the first thing that I did is I took my ATG gun that is filled with tape runner and placed some strips of tape or adhesive across the back of the card. I strongly encourage, or my card base, should I say. I strongly encourage using a tape runner or glue runner just because you don't want like liquid glue oozing out of all the cracks and seams between your strips of your card. I used my Misty Creative Corners as a template to get my first strip laid down because I wanted to make sure it was straight and at an angle. You can definitely use a ruler if you don't have the Misty Creative Corners, but since I had them, I decided to go ahead and use them. So I got my first strip in that kind of sand color. I got that laid down, and then I went in a continuing pattern of my colors and went from like left to right. I'm sorry, right to left on the way I had the colors laid out on my paper. What I did vary was the size of the strips. So I didn't always choose the same size strip to be like right next to each other. And I also, when I went from like red to the next red, I tried to make sure that I didn't choose the same size red strip as I had just chosen in the previous set. So I'm continuing to lay these strips down. And I also had white strips because I wanted to make sure that my depth on my card, there wasn't like a gap in the card. I could have left just a white base since I had that, but one, I already had the tape runner down, and 2, I wanted to make sure there wasn't like I said, a dip or a divot in my card because I left that gap or that space there. So I just continue to butt the strips up against each other and continue to go in my regular, in this pattern that I have of the color. So I lay all 5 down and then start back at the top. So you can see here I'm getting close to the corner, and I added some additional tape runner onto the card base because I just felt like as I got closer to the corner, it became more and more important for the edges to be laid down and secured well. So I know right here it looks all kind of strange and looks like a hot mess, but what I'm going to do is bring in the scissors and trim off all the excess. So even me cutting the excess off, you'll see when I flip it over, it looks a whole lot better, but there's still some areas that are not covered. So here we are. You can see I've cut off all the excess strips, but they're still on the corners, some areas that aren't covered. But no need to worry. I'm going to trim this panel down before I adhere it to the card. What I'm also going to do is the larger, longer pieces, I'm going to save those in case I do another diagonal card. I can use those for the end part that I get closer to the edge. So off camera, I went ahead and stamped the ornament image in embossing ink. In this kit, there was a small cube of embossing ink that was included. And I decided to use my ultra thick embossing enamel or embossing powder for this because I kind of wanted the outside panel of the ornament to kind of look like it was glass. So I'm using my extra ultra thick embossing powder to do this. You can tell that it's ultra thick, but the crystals in this embossing powder are a lot larger than typical embossing powder is. So I'm covering those stamped ornament images with the powder, and then I'm going to hit it with my heat tool to melt the embossing powder. So off camera, I cut out the embossed ornaments. I also cut about 8 additional ornaments from just regular white cardstock, and then I cut the base of the ornament as well. So I'm going to glue all of those pieces together, the base and the extra white pieces, with my tacky glue and keep going. Additionally, I die cut a piece of acetate to make the clear part that needs to go on top of the shaker to keep all the confetti and glitter and stuff inside. So I'm using my liquid glue to adhere that acetate to the top panel. And with this, I'm going to use my tweezers because this acetate likes to move around a lot. And so in order to make sure that my fingers weren't in the way helping it move around, I went ahead and used my tweezers to help secure it to the top piece of the ornament. And I put my acrylic block on it to make sure that it has a little weight to make sure everything adheres. So here I have pulled out some sequins and confetti from my stash. Some of them are just shaped like regular sequins. You can see a couple of them are actually shaped like gift boxes. So I throw some of those inside the little well that I've made there. I also went inside the well with anti-static powder tool just to make sure that there's no static or anything that keeps the sequins and the confetti from moving around. Put a little adhesive on liquid glue on around the edge and adhere the top of the shaker. And there you have it. The completed shaker is made, at least for the first card. Off camera, I went ahead and stamped the sentiment and some of the laurels that were included in this month's kit, the images. And also in this kit, there were 3 embossing powders, a red and a glacier blue, and I used those for the sentiments. So now it's assembly time. I'm going to use liquid adhesive to adhere my ornament to my card because I do want to make sure that this stays in place. I also made an additional panel, you can see there on the left, of just strips that go from one side to the other. And then this is the panel that I started on in the video earlier. You can see I've cut it down, so none of the strange exposed edges are seen now. Everything's been trimmed down, and it fits nicely on the card. So the ornament itself has dimension because there are probably about 6 or 7 layers to that ornament that help create the well for the sequins and confetti. So to help this sentiment kind of play along, I went ahead and popped that sentiment up with some foam tape. This is the foam tape that I found in the Crafter's Corner in Dollar Tree. I've talked about this one before, and I still continue to think that it's a great value and use it regularly in my card making. So I'm going to attach the sentiment to the card. I place the ornament a little bit to the top of the card so that I make sure I have space for my sentiment to be attached to the card, and that completes the panel. Now I'm going to add it to the second card. Or the second panel, should I say. And now that one is complete as well. Just because you can never have enough or too much dimension, I decided to place a foam panel on the back of the card to add more dimension to the final product. Good amount of liquid adhesive there. I find that the liquid adhesive works really well when I'm adding foam panels to my cards. So I'm adding this one. This is a top folding card base. By the way, all of my white card stock is Neenah Classic Crest Solar White panel. It is I think it's the 80-pound card stock. And so I add both of those to the card bases. And that completes the cards. Thank you for joining me today on my channel. If you haven't done so already, I'd love it if you would subscribe and join the family. Also, hit the notification bell so you can know when I post new videos. Join me on Facebook and Instagram at The Delta Crafter. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy!